An Arsenal transfer window just doesn't seem complete without the signing of a centre-half that can also play left-back. And it seems as though Mikel Arteta will be getting that profile again this summer with the signing of Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, an Ecuadorian talent that can play in both of those positions. In today's video, we will be breaking down the Ecuadorian talent and explaining how he will fit into Arsenal's system and why and what qualities he has to take us to that next level. So if you are new here, please give a subscribe and hit the like as well. It is also very much appreciated, but let's get on with it. I love the on-the-ball stuff of Hincapié. I also love his off-the-ball movement, but I think we have to start with his 1v1 defending and his channel defending, because I do think he will be placed in left-back for us. I think that's his strongest position. So as a defender, you need to know how to defend. You know, I think modern-day football is kind of taking us away from the actual sort of things a defender needs to do. So let's look at this example in terms of, here is Hincapié. He's looking directly where the ball is, and the ball is here in possession of Stuttgart. Hincapié knows that. He's always looking at that. But in his eye line, he knows that there's also a Stuttgart player nearby. And one of the common themes you're going to see with Hincapié is his aggressiveness. He loves to play on the front foot, and I absolutely love it in certain areas of the pitch, and I'll get onto that a bit later. But he knows as soon as this Stuttgart player plays the ball forward into this area, Hincapié is going to attack. He's going to try and retrieve that ball. And this is what we see here. Straight away, Hincapié sees the player receive the ball. Here it is. And he knows, okay, this is my opportunity. I need to follow him in. He will follow the attacking team's wingers all the way. Here we go. Here's the sequence. Let's follow it. Here he is again. Hincapié follows the Stuttgart player all the way in. And in this situation, it is a foul. He does end up giving away the free kick, but it's just his intensity, his intent, and front-footedness, which I really, really like. He started from this situation, knows the Stuttgart player is in possession, but he knows as soon as that ball goes into the feet of the winger, I'm going to be there. And it's similar to Calafiori, this aggressive nature, and it comes from the fact that he is, you know, a South American, and their defenders, they love to be on the front foot. He wants to win that ball straight away. And of course, it's a foul in the end, and this is a common theme. He can be a bit overeager, but this is what Arteta will want to see. He will want to see his defenders in these areas of the pitch try and win the ball back in the most aggressive manner, and that's going to suit us really, really well. Here is another example, a much better example of Hincapié and his excellence. He sees where the ball is. He sees where the ball is. He knows that the ball is in possession of Stuttgart over here, but he knows yet again, as soon as that ball comes in to the feet of the Stuttgart winger, he's going to be on it. He's absolutely going to be on it. He's going to move himself. He's going to be straight onto the attacker because he wants to get his team on the front foot and attacking. And this is only 5 minutes in. These examples that I've shown you from the game against Stuttgart are so early on, and you can really see the intention of him as a player. So let's look at how this scenario develops. And it develops quite nicely. So here is Hincapié. He's always looking at where the ball is. He knows straight away, I want that ball. I want that ball. Hincapié is so aggressive, so on the front foot. His first intention is, I don't care. I'm going to get this ball. This ball is going to be mine. He's not flat-footed. He's always on the move. He's always on the go. And as we can see this scenario getting even further down the line, he's there. The ball is here. Guess who's there? Hincapié's there. And one of the things you'll notice with Hincapié is he's one of the quickest players in the Bundesliga in terms of defenders anyway. His speed in those first few yards is actually very impressive. And there's statistics out there saying he's gone 35.7 kilometers per hour as his top speed. And you'll see this as a common theme as him as a player. It really helps him be the sort of player he is. He's on the front foot and he's won that ball back. That ball, as I try and circle it over here, is now here. And it's all come from here. Hincapié coming into this zone. This player sort of not being on the front foot, not being sort of as quick as Hincapié to realize the situation, he loses possession, and look where Leverkusen can go from here. He puts his team in a wonderful position. So let's try and go to the start of this scenario. Hincapié on the front foot, sees the ball coming. He wants to be first. He wants to be aggressive. He's quicker than the attacker. And look as it develops. Really, really nice. He is there. He's always in control of this scenario. And this all comes from his speed, not only just on his feet, but in his mind, but also his intention to get the ball up the pitch and out of the other team's possession as quickly as possible. And Mikel Arteta is going to absolutely love that. It's something we have with Calafiori and something which I see happening again with Hincapié, especially against those teams which like to play quite quickly, that like to think that they're one step ahead of you. Someone like Hincapié will win you a lot of possession in these areas of the pitch. But you know, we can't always just talk about the positives. We have to talk about the negatives with this thing with Hincapié as well. And one of the things that I've noticed with him is, yes, he's really aggressive. Yes, he can be on the front foot. But if he doesn't get his distances right, which has happened multiple times before, it can go wrong and it can really mess you up. So the Atletico Madrid player, his only intention is he's right-footed. He's going to go on the outside. Hincapié should know this. He should be able to adjust his body to any change of direction that the Atletico Madrid player does. But because he's so aggressive, he's so on the front foot, he doesn't. He doesn't adapt to the situation. He then finds himself on a yellow card, by the way, in a really tricky situation. So here he is, tangling legs, entering the box, and it all comes from him not getting his distances correct from the start. He's not in the right shape. His body is not shaped in the correct way, and he's just easily breezed past. And this is what I mean. When Hincapié is doing this aggressive on the front foot stuff higher up the pitch, brilliant, because if he does lose out the duel, there's players behind him who can recover the situation. But when it's further down the pitch, when he's in a 1v1 situation, it's not good whatsoever, and he'll struggle against wingers who want to play on their right foot, and where they're playing right wing on their right foot, he'll struggle against that because he can often get his distances wrong. But I think we're quite lucky in having a coach like Mikel Arteta who knows exactly what to do in these situations. He ended up getting a red card in this scenario because he was already on the yellow, like I said. So it's room for improvement. But what we can take from that in terms of the defensive side of his game is he's really aggressive on the front foot, can win you a lot of high possession, high balls, and put you on the front foot into transitional situations. But further down in your own half, if he's faced 1v1, he needs some work with his distances so he doesn't get beaten so easily on the outside. But I'm sure Mikel Arteta has got that in his brain to fix. Now on to one of my favourite sort of positives about Hincapié, and is his off the ball movement and recognition of when to make a movement. I think that comes with his speed and also his front footedness. It's not just off the ball in terms of defending, but it's on the ball as well. He can really get in some great advanced positions, and this situation is no different. Here is Leverkusen with a free kick, and here is Hincapié in this sort of position. And he may just look flat-footed. And this is what he does. He's kind of like a creeper. Someone who sort of twinkles his way through and you don't expect it. You know, this just doesn't look like a dangerous scenario. But he makes it one. As we move on to the second frame. Look, from a situation over here, Hincapié is over here. He's allowed this ball, as I try and circle it right here. Here is the ball. Sorry for it not being too clear. He's allowed that ball to go from a really sort of non-dangerous situation into one where his team's on the front foot. And this is what he's a bit different to in terms of Calafiori. Calafiori wouldn't make this run over the top by the byline. He'd make a more inside run because he's more comfortable inside the pitch. But with Hincapié, his difference to Calafiori is he loves making that byline run. He loves getting advanced on the touchline. It's his thing. He loves it. And he gets Leverkusen straight up the pitch through that beautiful piece of movement. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Here it is. So he ends up from a sort of relatively non-dangerous situation into this situation here, where he has the option to put a first-time ball into this box or turn and here. And somebody like, I think that's Ronaldo, it might be Wirtz, can then attack the space. So that's all come from Hincapié's beautiful awareness, his front-footedness, his desire to make the pitch bigger, to get forward. And he's put Leverkusen straight on the front foot. Let me start again from here, into here, into here. You know, that is beautiful stuff from Hincapié. Start it again from here, into here, into here. That is what you want to be seeing from your sort of fullbacks in Arteta's system, because essentially, if you haven't noticed, especially with the arrival of Madueke, the left-hand side is dependent on the movement of the left back. So if Hincapié makes a movement like this, it would be expected that Noni Madueke is here. That should be Noni Madueke in Arsenal's situation and scenario. He should be behind, either receiving it, and then this should be sort of Victor Gyökeres. Let me try and get this arrow. Gyökeres should be making that run straight across goal. So he's already here, and I can already see scenarios in which we can make a dangerous attack. And it's nice to have different options in terms of from him to Calafiori. In terms of Calafiori's more of an inside guy, and Hincapié's more of a on the outside, byline, touchline brilliance in terms of his movement. And it doesn't really stop there in terms of his movement. I really, really love this one. Here's the situation. That's where Leverkusen are. And of course, he's going to play it long. That's his idea. He wants to play a ball long over the top. But you just don't see who he could play it in. Maybe to the centre forward. You'd expect that. But I'm going to tell you that is not the case whatsoever. That is not the case, because that ball goes over the top and it's in the path of Hincapié. That's too big. But he's dropped it in an area where your left back is attacking that zone. Your left back wants to be involved here. Your left back wants to create. And that's really, really intelligent stuff. And he's almost on his own, Hincapié. Created a triangle with the likes of Wirtz and Schick. You know how insane that is for your left back to create an attacking triangle, to be so on the front foot and want to be in the box. It's really, really good. Hincapié is so good with those out to in runs. Genuinely, it all comes from his front footedness. He almost sneaks, creeps into zones that you wouldn't expect him to be in. And it doesn't really stop there in terms of his different types of movement, because I think Hincapié can really form some nice triangles with the people in and around him. So there's Hincapié. As I get that wrong, sorry. It's really tough sometimes with this technology. But look, he's essentially formed a triangle there on the left back spot with Xhaka there, and I think it's Grimaldo potentially behind him. And his first thought is, okay, I'm in a tricky situation. Can I play forward? That's another thing I like about Hincapié. He's always thinking, apologies, can I play forward? Can I play into a playmaker? Can I play into the 9? And I think Gyökeres is going to thrive off of this, because one of the things that I won't really talk about much is Hincapié likes to play balls into the channels, likes to play balls into the spaces. He wants to be connective with his teammates. And from that scenario, he does play it into the feet of Wirtz, I'm pretty sure that is. So Hincapié is here with Wirtz, and they're both together in this space. It's their own space, their own time to make some magic. And look how they develop this situation really, really nicely. Now onto this one, more showing, you know, Hincapié and his ability to read the movements of other players. Because in my last breakdown, I talked about how Noni Madueke was really intelligent reading the movements of Calafiori. If Calafiori was wide, Madueke would make the movement inside, and vice versa. It was working for Arsenal. And that's the same with Hincapié. So here he is on the ball. He recognizes that's Wirtz making that movement. And look what he does after he plays that ball. His first thought is, okay, I've played it outside to Wirtz, who's on this space. If this is actually going to allow me to put it, that's Wirtz. And Hincapié wants to get into this space. That's his first thought. He's not thinking about the overlap, because he knows that's going to get really congested. He's thinking about, can I get into this space and create an overload? And an overload he does. Look at where he is now. This is just a beautiful sequence. A beautiful sequence. And Wirtz's intelligence to play this ball into that space is going to be really good as well. Here it is. There. Look at that. So Wirtz and sort of Hincapié and their link up is beautiful to see. It genuinely is beautiful to see. I can see this developing with a Noni Madueke, with a Martinelli as well, because Martinelli can, I think, link better with a Hincapié. I think their movements suit each other more than Calafiori and Martinelli. But from this scenario, Hincapié is able to put a really, really dangerous ball across goal. In the end, it was a poor delivery, but the intent is there, the rotations is there, and that's really a positive for Arsenal going forward. Now on to the final bit, which is his overlapping capacity. I think every Arsenal fan is asking for an overlapping profile. And I think Hincapié has the capabilities, the physical sort of frame and endurance to overlap to a really, really good level. In this situation, the pass comes from there. Look at Hincapié straight on his bike, going on the overlap. This is against Dortmund. And this is one of my favourite overlaps from Hincapié, because it shows his pace and power, PNP, which is very, very crucial in the Premier League. And look how this situation develops. He finds himself from here And look how many yards he's gained. And it's quite sort of, I would say, underrated, his engine, his ability to drive small distances. He's not a big space carrier, but he will carry small distances to medium ranges like this and then put a really, really good ball into the box, into this area. And it's, again, that idea of creeping. He's crept into this position. They don't see Hincapié getting into this zone because he's front-footed, he's always thinking first, he's always aggressive, and it's smart. It genuinely is smart. Gets his team up the pitch into this scenario, and he puts a really, really dangerous ball into the box, which Leverkusen do score from. I do want to say, though, his delivery isn't consistent and it isn't at the best. So you can't always expect Hincapié to go in the overlap and deliver a ball of quality. I think that's where he probably needs to work on. But to get in that position in the first place, he does have the capacity to do that. And I feel like it will be up to the attackers to make movements suited to the balls into the box that Hincapié will put in. Because he does put some nice balls into the box, but they're not targeted balls. They're more based on chaos and maybe bounces happening. It's got to be up to the attackers to anticipate that rather than make movements to receive it ball to feet. I think that's where we really need to get it right with him. And again, this same example that I showed you of him and Wirtz linking up, the overlapping capacity. There is Wirtz, there is Hincapié. But it's not more so that he goes on the overlap here. It's more so the sort of half space cross. Kivior and Zinchenko are the bodies that we're going to lose for Hincapié. But one thing we won't really lose is Hincapé's ability to put a really dangerous ball from the half space. Again, like I said, it's not consistent, but he has it in his locker. He's one of the best passers from the under-23 group for sure in Europe. And we can see where this ball lands. Really, really dangerous. And, you know, he's got to score. The Bayer Leverkusen player has to score. He doesn't in the end, but it comes again from receiving more inside the pitch from an overlapping situation, though, and putting a ball of real quality in the box. And Arsenal will definitely need that. I think he's probably a better passer in terms of into the box than Calafiori, and that is genuinely something which is quite impressive. Again, this one is the one I was talking about in terms of the overlap between him and Wirtz, not the previous one. My bad on that one. But here is Hincapié. Here is Wirtz. And his first mind is, okay, it's not an overlap, it's an underlap into space. He sees space, he wants to make the move, he wants to be front foot, he wants to be aggressive. And that's what you're going to get with Hincapié. And of course, in the end, it's not a ball of real quality. And of course, here is another example of Hincapié on the overlap. Really, really nice. Him and Jeremy Frimpong. But again, he doesn't receive the ball in the end, but he's attracted this defender towards him. So that in itself removes a body in the attacking phase. And it's up to Jeremy Frimpong to make the right decision after that. Hincapé's done his job. He's on the overlap. He's there as an option. If he doesn't use him, quality has to show. And I feel like with Eneze next to him or Amadueke, they'll really, really thrive with this profile. And like I said, he's one of the best passers in, you know, the under-23 defenders group. There he is, a light in possession. Shout out to one analyst on Twitter for this graph or graphic. Calafiori's in there as well, Dean Huijsen, Gabardio. So you're seeing a player who's keeping really good company with other good ball playing defenders, and that is really impressive. But hey, let's get on to the tactics board to finish off this video. So let's look at this from a tactical standpoint using the tactics board. Of course, against Leeds, we had Calafiori in this little space, Madueke holding width. But how could things look with Hincapié? I think the system would pretty much stay the same, and I wanted to say this a lot during the video. But one thing which Hincapié does do is there's no drop-off in system quality, effectiveness of the system. If Calafiori is injured, please not be the case this season. Someone like Hincapié can come in and we can see the left-hand side function to the same levels it did with Calafiori in the side. Because I feel like Hincapié, from the sort of things I've been showing you, is more than adequate to play wide. He's more than happy, I think we've all seen, to make movements like this and make movements across there as well. Someone like Madueke, we've already seen him be able to adapt and adjust and do these movements out wide and in these central zones. So I feel as though, you know, we would be set in a situation that sort of, you know, Calafiori wasn't fit, wasn't being able to play. And Hincapié also gives you the ability, if one game you want to drop out Magalhaes and play Hincapié with Calafiori, this would be such a good attacking way to go forward. Because Hincapié will get forward. He will sort of add numbers in the box. Rice can cover this situation as well. It gives Arsenal more attacking quality by improving the back line. It's crazy, isn't it? You can bring in someone like Hincapié over Gabriel for certain games and have more attacking threat. And you've just brought in another centre half because he can roam, he can rotate with Calafiori. Sometimes Calafiori can go into the attacking situations, sometimes Hincapié. You can have Rice cover Hincapié and Hincapié get forward in Rice's position. One thing about Hincapié as well is he's a really good box presence. So he scored a lot of goals from balls into the box. And I know we're called set piece FC, but he'll thrive on that. Even in open play, if Saka wants to put a ball into the back stick, Hincapié's much better attacking the ball, being an aerial threat than Calafiori. So if in these situations, say Hincapié is in the back stick zone, if we move everyone back, if I remove that arrow, I've been getting this right wrong, bring all the bodies in, bring them all into the box. Hincapié from a Saka situation, he can receive this ball. He can be there. He can be there for the Saka ball into the back post. And we've needed that. We've needed that option since Gyökeres isn't best aerial presence. Someone from left back arriving late to knock it down into the box, create more chaos, is absolutely integral. But anyway, that's my breakdown on Piero Hincapié. I think he's a really good player. He's front-footed. He's aggressive. He can maybe be a bit too overly aggressive at times. He's good on the overlap in terms of his engine to get on the overlap. But his delivery is inconsistent. But he's still got the capacity to do that in the first place. His off the ball movement is very impressive, as I've shown you, and he gives us the ability to do different types of rotations across the back line. If you want to go Saliba Gabriel, you can do that. If you want to go sort of Hincapié Saliba, you can do that. I'm not a fan of Hincapié Mosquera because I feel like they're both very aggressive defenders, but it can work. Arteta can make it work with a Timber at right back and a Miles Lewis Skelly Pauser at left back. But there's different ways Arsenal can attack going forward, and I think Hincapié, for anything under the 52 million sort of asking price or release clause, maybe a loan with obligation to buy, would be a very, very good deal.